Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. I'm Amy Orlov. I'm the Vice President of Programs at Forte. You all must be in the same place we're at right now when you're doing school and work from home and you don't know what day it is. Well, we remembered it's Wednesday, but we couldn't get the time right. So if you look at our slide up there, it says we're going to begin at 1 o'clock Eastern time, and we really meant to say 2 o'clock Eastern time, but glad you found us. Definitely a lot going on in these times. Everyone's worried about family, friends, our future, certainly. But if there is a silver lining in this COVID cloud, it is time. Is that now we're all given, or many of us are given, the gift of time to really focus on connections and activities that really will help us. They will help us take care of ourselves and invest in our future. And what we're here to do over the next 6 weeks is introduce you to the people and the ideas that can really help you on that journey. And the first one, it's my pleasure to introduce, because the first of the series is being led by my colleague and longtime friend, our Vice President of Marketing at Forte, Mariska Morse. Mariska, I'm going to take myself off camera, but I am here to help you with the chat and question box. So whenever you need me, just call on me.
Sounds great. Thank you, Amy. Thank you for the introduction. I am so excited to be here with you today. This is one of my favorite presentations I've given to college students in the past. And it's powerful in the sense that we don't sometimes realize what we have in front of us. So this is going to be a very interactive discussion. Please post a question or a comment in the chat box and share it with us. So great, let's get started. As Amy said, my name is Mariska Morse. I have been with Forte since its inception back in 2001, and it's just been an awesome journey to help grow this nonprofit to what it is today. To get us started, I have this video that every time I watch it, I find it very inspiring. So I thought this might be a fun way to get our conversation started today. So let's watch this, and then I will come back to you.
Growing up in Mississippi, my prayer was, for as long as I can remember, God, use me. Use me, use this life. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I know that there is a vision for my life that is greater than my imagination can hold. Use me, use me. What would you have me to do? And that dream, that desire, that prayer brought me somehow to television.
And she's gonna learn that this life will hit you hard in the face, wait for you to get back up just so it can kick you in the stomach. But getting the wind knocked out of you is the only way to remind your lungs how much they like the taste of air.
If we want to give all of our children a foundation for their dreams and opportunities worthy of their promise, if we want to give them that sense of limitless possibility, that belief that here in America there is always something better out there if you're willing to work for it, then we must work like never before.
To those waiting with bated breath for that favorite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning.
You might never fail on the scale I did, but some failure in life is inevitable. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default.
Each of us must truly be a woman in the world. We need to be as fearless as the women whose stories you have applauded, as committed as the dissidents and activists you have heard from. as audacious as those who start movements for peace when all seems lost. Together, I do believe it is part of the American mission to ensure that people everywhere, women and men alike, finally have the opportunity to live up to their own God-given potential.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I usually do. And I just figured in this time when everyone is talking about a quarantine and COVID and all these things that are a little bit of a downer, we need inspiration. We need these role models in our life to show us actually what's possible. I don't know about you, but I could always use a little more Beyonce, a little Oprah, a little Michelle Obama to just cheer us up and get us out of this kind of quarantine slump that's sort of so easily to kind of go down into. So maybe it's not this video that's going to be your calling every morning, but I do recommend that everybody finds their jam song or that inspirational video, and that's how you start the day. That's how you get your energy on. And so let's keep going into our conversation today about the power of now. And now, in terms of whether you are online in your home versus on campus, it's still a very, very powerful time. And what we're going to be talking about is true again whether you're on campus or online. So all of these thoughts that we'll be talking about are relevant either way. So let's not let this pandemic beat us down. We need your leadership. We need your resistance. We need all women to really rise up and pursue these goals that you set out at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of your college journey. We need you to pursue those goals, those dreams, and claim that power. So speaking of power, yes, you smart, beautiful, and inspiring women are out there, and you chose to attend this webinar today. And just like you, women across the world hold a very powerful presence in the marketplace. And I think sometimes we need to kind of remind ourselves of this sort of position that we have. Women are more than 50% of the population. Women are achieving all of these degrees, 50% of doctoral degrees, bachelor's, master's degrees. I'm not sure you knew this. It's always impressive when I read these stats, but women make 70% of major financial decisions for themselves and their families. We control 85% of the consumer spending. And in the US alone, women control 14 trillion in assets, or roughly 60% of personal wealth. So we have this major power in our marketplace. So it's always important to just kind of remind ourselves, and in particular, right now, this shouldn't be surprising, but it's the women leaders across the globe that are making a difference. It's this article in Forbes just came out, I believe, yesterday, that the women leaders, Germany, Taiwan, New Zealand, Finland, Norway, These are the women leaders that are showing us how to lead when, you know, times get tough. And I highly recommend this article. And it talks about the style of their leadership being so different. It talks about that they use truth, decisiveness, technology, and most importantly, love in this sort of pandemic crisis. So even though we have this sort of powerful position in the marketplace as women, there are many places that we are not leading. For example, in MBA programs, you know, when I started off with Forte, there were only 28% women in leading MBA programs, and today we're up to 37%, but we're still not close to 50-50. And as you probably know, only 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Women entrepreneurs are only getting 2% of venture funding. Oh, that's funny, my battery's running low, that's hysterical. So it's an important reminder, not just how much of a leadership role that we, or a presence that we have in the marketplace, but we're not always getting that seat at the table like we should. And so I think knowing that there is this gender gap, that we don't have the majority of leadership roles in Congress is a good reminder as to why women like yourself.
Hey, Mariska,
Yep.
we lost your slot. There you go.
Yeah, no, sorry. I had to plug it in. Sorry about
you
that.
You plugged in now? Are you all plugged in now?
I am, thank you. So this is just a good reminder of why you all who are undergraduate students or maybe recently graduated students, why your future leadership roles are so critical, because we do want to make a change. We don't want to go back to the 1950s. I don't know if you watched this show, Mad Men, but it's kind of where things are still. We still have a very small presence in the leadership roles in the marketplace. And at the current rate, it'll take us 217 years to close the economic gender gap, to reach parity in leadership positions and earning levels. So that's kind of scary, right? That's 2236 before we reach gender parity with the current rate that we're going. So we need everybody on this phone call to really pursue those career goals so we can reach gender parity sooner. And that brings us to this question: how can we change the status quo? And today I'm going to talk about two strategies about how you can not only invest in your career, but in so doing, helping to change that status quo, helping to increase those percentages of women having a voice at the table, women having a seat in the leadership table, around the leadership table. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is mindset, and the second is action. Mindset's really critical, and to get us there, I'm going to share this quick video. This is the last video, but this one's shorter than the other one, but it talks a little bit about some of these challenges that we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
So please take a seat. We'll be showing you some sentences. Read them and give us your honest reactions.
You're broken down and tired of living life.
I should smile more. I should cross my legs. That's a weird one to say out loud. I should put on tighter shorts for tonight. I should put makeup on. I should wear a bra. I should try to be more feminine. I should cook more often. I should not walk alone at night. I should talk sweetly to people. I'm not saying that. I should have a boyfriend. I should be nice to him. I should be less than him. I should be less intense. I should not try so hard. I should say nothing.
And I'll rise like the day I rise up.
I want to not second guess myself. I want to smile as much as I did when I was a kid.
I want to help eradicate polio in honor of my grandmother.
I want to run a marathon.
I want to be everything I've dreamed of.
I want for women to be less apologetic.
I want more people to dance. Yeah, it's so boogie on.
I want to become a badass entrepreneur.
I want to bring empowerment to people who are marginalized.
I want to see more equality, like Meredith Gray's $20 million salary.
I want to prove everyone wrong.
I want to be able to walk home by myself at night.
I want to be respected.
I want to feel comfortable saying no.
I want to be more forgiving of myself.
I want to not to have to wear heels or makeup.
I want to feel like the only thing holding me back is me.
Okay, so the reason that that video is important is because we often think about what we should be doing as opposed to what we want to be doing. And it's that little shift in mindset that really, and that movie came out a couple years ago, and Shavaya, who helped pull that video together, I give much credit to, and there's a whole sort of movement behind it, which we can sort of share offline. But I wanted to share that as we sort of get this conversation set up, because to engage in the power of now, to do that effectively, we all need to shift that mindset of like, I can and I want to versus what I should do. So first we have to sort of change that mindset. Women do tend to be sort of less comfortable being direct and stating what they want. But what we're talking about today is it's okay to say this is what you want to do. So what I want to sort of take a pause on right now is take a second. This is sort of a little interactive piece. Go into the chat box and think about what you want, whether it's right now during this quarantine. Yeah, we all want to get out of our house, but think maybe a little bigger about your career when you get out of quarantine and you are back at school. What do you want to do? What do you want for your future? Just use one word. It can be anything, but just one word. Enter your one word in the chat box. I kind of say, stand proud and say it loud. And then Amy's going to read a few of your entries to us. And then it was a follow-up. We can share the full list with everybody.
Yeah, and Marissa, while they're coming in, I want to say that I shared the links to those videos. I know the audio was a little choppy on the one, so I shared the link to both videos, but the words coming in are amazing. Confidence, revolutionary, execution, progress, respect to this person. I want to be able to finish my senior thesis. Leadership, fulfillment, growth, empowerment, equity. These are just amazing. I want to say yes to all of them because, or ditto, I should say, to all of them.
Right. I love it. Well, maybe what we'll do too, Amy, is take all those words and put them in one of those word diagrams and send that out to everyone.
Absolutely. So keep them coming in, Mariska, even if you're going to advance, if we could keep the words coming in, this is great.
Yeah, please keep the words coming in. And I also say, take that word, everyone, that you just shared with us, put it on a big piece of paper and put it on your door or above your bed. And just like you have that jam song, remind yourself, what do you want every day, and have that word kind of be a guiding light. Awesome. We're going to keep going. Thank you so much for sharing. So instead of I should, let's shift our mindset to I want. And with that, we can begin to change the status quo. So quickly on Forte, many of you have heard of Forte before you registered today, or maybe not, but our mission is actually working to do just that, to change the status quo, to launch more women into positions of leadership across the business world. And it's not just Forte that's trying to do this, but it is well known through lots of research that diversity on leadership teams means profit in the bank for companies. You can see here that companies with above average diversity scores do much better, 45% average innovation revenue reported by companies versus those with below average diversity. So it's not just like the right thing to do. You want diversity of thought. You want to see diversity, but it also is very profitable for companies to have diversity amongst their leadership team and across their company. So Forte really works every day to inspire our members through role models. We want to empower you to think beyond your major. We want to provide you with career exploration tools to imagine careers that you've not even heard of or thought of before. We want to provide education to all of our members, access to business education, introduce you to these leading business schools and executive education programs that are partners with Forte. And most importantly, just like today, we want to connect with you. We want you to connect with like-minded peers. We want you to have a community of successful women, companies and schools to be surrounded by, to help you reach your goal, to help remind you of that word that you are kind of keeping front and center, and sort of keep that mindset of I want versus I should. In case you're not aware, Forte does have 100,000 members. We have over 160 partners. There's over 15,000 women every year that attend our programs. So a quick story to just sort of give you some context of this power of now that we're going to be talking about. When I was thinking about where to go to school, I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I thought it was the smallest city in the world, and I was really set on going to a city school, and so I chose Northeastern in Boston. But it was expensive, and my father said, well, I'll pay for, you know, part of it, but not all of it. And so I came up with a plan about how to afford this school that I wanted to go to, Northeastern. And I lined up subsidized loans and work study and a part-time job. I was determined to go to school. So this is a very old photo of my mom dropping me off at Northeastern at Whitehall. And I was so excited to be there. But just like the pandemic, you don't see these sort of life moments, these turns in your life happening. By the second semester of my freshman year, my father's job was transferred overseas, and I lost all my financial aid. And so these financial aid officers called me because at the time you didn't make overseas phone calls, and they basically said you lost all your loans. And the only way I could stay there is if I took 18% interest on these loans. So I ended up transferring back to Indiana to go to Indiana University, but I felt like it was such a failure. I felt like I had kind of lost my goal of going to school in the city that I chose. So I didn't give up. I had built this network already at school, and I kind of fought my way to get back to Boston. I wrote letters, and I pursued a summer internship in Boston, and through that internship I kind of proved my commitment, and I came up with this investment. My maiden name is Lutz, so the ML investment. I presented it to my employer and said, hey, if you really like the work I've been doing, how about you pay for the rest of my education and I will keep working for you. And they agreed. And so I was able to get back to Boston. I shifted to Boston College, but I was back to the city that I wanted to be in. And it was sort of that experience, sort of leveraging that power of now, that taught me so many things. It was such a huge learning experience. And there were other ones. I mean, it wasn't just that. It was the waitressing job. It was renting an apartment that was full of roaches, and no one was there to help me figure that out. The Iraq war started, and so I did a pro-troop rally. There were so many learning experiences that I had in college that really became the foundation of who I was. And so I just wanted to share that with you in terms of, you know, this conversation today. Everything that you do, in particular in your undergraduate experience, is so powerful and has meaning in terms of the skills that you're gaining, the negotiation. When I was talking to those financial aid officers, I made that presentation to the boss at my job. Obviously, the communication and writing letters, the leadership and the pro-troop rally, project management across everything that you're doing has meaning, is powerful to your future. Being a waitress, oh my goodness, that couldn't be more applicable to cross-functional leadership in any organization you're in. I highly recommend everyone be a waitress at some point early in their life. So this is what we're talking about. The second thing, I said I was going to give you two strategies today, and the first one was mindset, and the second is action. It's the power of now. We're going to break it down into person, profession, and people. So first, your person, first, always, number one, you have to be the sort of figure yourself out before you can do anything else. And so college is this time to explore. And I highly recommend that you make interesting choices, meaning what are the organizations that you are a part of, whether you're in a sorority or a student club or an athlete or a performer. It's no matter what you're a part of, are you going to keep things the status quo, or are you going to seek to take your role to the next level, or maybe introduce a partnership that you can set up, or a tradition or process that needs to be improved? So I guess the first thing I'm recommending here in the power of now is to not just have this role in your organization be that, see what you can do with it to take it to the next level. And to that end, the second thing, the comfort zone, where it's very safe, right, to keep things the same. Your classes, are you stretching yourself? This is the perfect time because from what I'm hearing, not only from my own kids, but other undergraduate students, that sometimes these online classes are not taking up as much time. You don't have the distractions of being on campus. So is this the time that you take that statistics class or the analytics class? Or how about a language course? Brush up on your presentation skills. So get out of that comfort zone. Think about maybe what are some of those gaps in your skill set, and use this extra time to pursue that. And the third one, number 3 here on person, is seeking opportunities to grow yourself further. So other activities. So maybe you're feeling really good about being in the sorority or being an athlete, but how about joining a cooking club or an a cappella group? And maybe that's not possible right now because you're not on campus, but you can research it now and pursue it when you go back to campus. So make a lot of connections kind of outside of your existing world, so outside of your sorority or your club or whatever, and try to, reach out a little bit farther. So it's also a time to kind of feed your soul when it comes to your person. When I say feed your soul, it's sort of stuff outside of what I was just talking about. Traveling, thinking about your future in terms of a graduate degree, and also reflection. All 3 of these are key. So let's talk about travel. Obviously, no one's traveling right now. No one's getting on a plane, but you can be planning some travel for the future. So great time to research. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Forte, for example, is hosting college conferences in the fall. We provide travel stipends for students to travel to those locations. So if you haven't traveled much, college is an awesome time to spread your wings and pursue that trip. It can be a small trip, it can be a big trip, it can be a road trip. But again, getting outside of your immediate kind of circle really broadens your perspective, and it helps you think beyond what's right in front of you. Also, graduate school, it's not that far away, and something like an MBA, you want to get a couple years of experience and then go back to school. But you can take the GMAT, the preparation test, the admissions test, when you're a senior, because the scores are good for 5 years. So this is, again, especially seniors that might be having extra time on their hands before you starting your job search, or while you're starting your job search, start studying for whether it's the GMAT or the GRE or the LSAT. Think about your career in terms of not just the job, but what kind of graduate degree might you want to pursue. And you're never going to score better than while you're in college. All the research shows that women and minorities score better on admissions tests while they're in college more than any other time in their career. So we highly recommend for you to be thinking about graduate school now, and you can study now, and then you have the score for later. Lastly, and this could not be sort of stressed enough, but reflection. I don't do this enough myself. Finding that personal space, taking that deep breath, having some time to yourself to really think about what is important to you. You're not distracted right now with sort of social commitments, so reflecting on What do you want from your career, from your future employer? What are those values, those personal values that you have that are going to be important to a future employer? Making sure that whatever sort of industry or function, or if you have a list of employers that you want to work for, do their values align with your values? So really giving some time. And you know what's important is not just you knowing that, but then when you go into an interview, you're going to be able to communicate that, and they're going to be so impressed when you say, you know what, I chose to pursue your company because my values align with your corporate values, and that means a lot to me. That will really make a difference to someone that you've taken the time to think about what are your professional values. So let's take a second here and see who out in the audience maybe has some examples to share about any of these things that I've just suggested, exploring your careers or feeding your soul, that you might have already done when you were on campus, or you've been doing during your quarantine. Because sharing best practices is one of the best ways for us to, not only be inspired, but to come up with new ideas. So is there anybody that wants to share some things that they've already been doing around exploring careers or feeding your soul? Yeah, I see some flashing. Amy, do you see any coming in?
I do, and these are great. Thank you so much for sharing. But one person wrote and said that they were really able to explore their career and travel at the same time by going to conferences and competitions throughout college. And they went to Fast Track to Finance, which is one of ours, so thank you. A lot of you are doing informational interviews right now, which is a great use of your time right now. Oh, I love this one, taking advantage of a free Coursera class to upskill and get certifications. Fabulous. Alexandra, I love you. You're studying for the GMAT. I'm so proud of you. That's great. That's amazing. What a great use of your time. Reaching out to LinkedIn. For those of you who are listening in, we did an earlier recording where our speaker talked a lot about LinkedIn, and you're welcome to get the video link to that and try that if you are using LinkedIn as a vehicle. Right now, just trying to improve skills. Someone's working on Tableau. I love that. We've heard from our employers how useful that is. And love this, getting through the nonfiction book list and dedicating time each day to improving a second language.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, so many good things happening out there. I'm really proud of everyone. That's awesome. Well, let's keep this going. I also want to sort of keep us on time here too. The second P in the power of now is thinking about your profession, your career research. I always laugh, sometimes we spend more time shopping for clothes than we do shopping for our career. So let's pretend your career is pick your favorite department store, or pretend you're shopping for a car, but we've got to do the research. To the point, to age 18, you've only kind of been exposed to what's in front of you. So you need to think beyond what has been presented to you from age 1 to 18 and really do some research. And how can you do that? First, this career center, you might have already been to your career center on campus, but guess what? It's online too. And those career counselors are probably dying to have a conversation with you. And there's obviously a lot of other people you can talk to too, but some things to think about. One, what are the career paths that go with, that go with your major, or how can you use your major to pivot to a career path that's really of interest to you? What companies are hiring maybe with your major in mind? Are there internships for someone with your background? Are there alumni from your school that had your major and are hiring in the industry that you're interested in? Or getting that resume ready and prepared, even for these informational interviews. Informational interviews are fantastic. It's one of the best ways, very low stress, low key, learn about what someone's doing in their job, learn about the company they're with, and they're going to keep you in mind for introducing you to someone else. Everybody wants to help somebody. So, having your major is great, but it's really what you do with that major And it's just the foundation, right? The selecting a major is one thing, but you can pivot that major any which way. I remember a few years back at an event, there was a woman who was a speaker, and she was a religion major, but her career path, she was presenting, she was the principal at a hedge fund. So she went from being a religion major to heading up this financial services firm. And I thought that was the coolest thing. So your major does not dictate where you go in life, but talking to people that maybe had your major and how they pivoted with that major can be really helpful. So this is one of my favorites, and it sounds like some of you are already doing this, but coffee and cocktails. You know, big secret, don't be afraid to ask for help. People love to talk, and they want to talk about what they do and how they can help you, and obviously something that you pay it forward down the road. So number one, alumni networks. Some of you are already doing this. Your sorority alumni, your school alumni. If you're athletes, you probably have an alumni network within your teams. So meet with someone that maybe had your major or works for a company that you like. You can do online coffee chats, or when you're, when everything is sort of freed up and you go to a party. I say parties are the best place to practice your elevator pitch, not the fraternity parties, but just a regular cocktail party or a family party. Practice that elevator pitch to your mirror, to your parents, to somebody online, because you're going to probably be doing some online interviews. So start practicing that elevator pitch. And we can, anyone that wants kind of a separate session on elevator pitches, I'm happy to meet with you offline, but it really should be a couple of sentences about sort of the key things about yourself and something that sets yourself apart. MBA students, I want to mention, whether they're on campus or you connect with them online. I suggest reaching out to an MBA student, maybe 3 to 4, they can be in school, or 3 to 4 years post-graduate. But these students all have extra time right now, these MBA students. They'd probably love to talk to you about why they decided to get an MBA and what was their first job out of college. How did they get that first job out of college? Did they find a second job? How did they then decide to go back to school? So number one, alumni networks. Number two, MBA students. Number three, using your elevator pitch, practicing it with friends and family. And then your community, the friends of your parents and community leaders, they're also great to have coffee chats with. And like I said, everyone's got a little time right now. So try it, make a goal, right? 3 coffee chats a week. Take notes of what everybody's saying. And don't forget the thank you note after the coffee chat. So an action item here is make a list of contacts, get in touch with them, schedule the Zoom calls, and this can be part of your daily pursuit. So experience, right? Everyone's like, oh, I'm not landing that Goldman Sachs internship or that Ernst & Young internship. If you do, great and fantastic and make the most of it. But if you don't, no worries. Volunteering, lifeguard, waitress, any work experience is good experience. And for example, right now during this quarantine period, is your old high school maybe in need of some help with these elementary school kids that are trying to learn online? I know, for example, I've got 3 kids and they're kind of like, oh, what, how is this all working? Do all this school online? Maybe some of these kids need mentors, or just to, connect with someone other than their parents and teachers. So you could volunteer with your old high school. What about if you're an athlete? Could you propose some online soccer challenges? Or if you're a theater person, are there some activities for theater kids that you could provide? I know for certain employers are going to be asking, what did you do during quarantine? And so having some of these activities that you initiated are going to be really important stories. And then when you are sort of back in the world this summer, on campus in the fall, again, that lifeguard job or the waitressing job or the local retail job, it's having the responsibility and the details of that experience that are going to be so important. At the end of the day, no matter what experience you have, it's going to be teaching you problem solving, communication skills. And what's critical, and this is another action item, is taking those experiences and writing them down in terms of the context, right? Giving your experience context. So whether it was that waitressing job, what were the things that you learned? Multitasking, relationship building, you know, managing the commitment of sort of being there and having to, sorry, not really managing up, but making sure you're aligning with the different people across the restaurant so that you get the job done. The client, right? Client skills in terms of the people at the table, upselling, so many skills coming out of a waitressing job. But it's important to write those down. So this is another action item. Take your experience and write it down and translate them into your resume. The last P here, and this is a quick but important one, is your people. You have a voice, right? We've talked so much about sort of personal growth and professional growth. And both of these are keys to adulting, but equally important is how you impact the people around you. So number one, you're a consumer. So buy from companies who have values that align with yours. Number two, you are a voter, right? Very important this year that you vote. So select a candidate that supports the issues that you do. As a student or an employee, get a seat at the table, speak up, have a point of view. And then as a volunteer or a donor, be sure that you are donating your time or money to causes that matter to you. So we had two more. I'm going to open up for the chat box before we sort of do our closing and Q&A. But any more examples that you want to put in the chat box, either around profession, ways that you are working on your career, or ways through sort of being a consumer, voter, employee, donors, anyone doing some volunteer work right now during this quarantine that you can mention. Anything coming in, Amy?
Yeah, I'm going to read them off in a little bit, but I just also wanted to say we did advertise this as 40 minutes, and I know we're going a little bit long. So some people have dropped off, but for those of you that are here and can stay, we really appreciate it. Really want to see what your suggestions are here. Right now, someone mentioned that they're attending virtual events hosted by their school. They actually wrote that in response to the last question, but I didn't want to miss that because schools are doing a great job of really keeping people engaged and informed. So I did want to reiterate that. But one person said that they just joined a volunteer committee for a local nonprofit that supports high school girls pursuing careers in business and STEM. I would love to hear more about that nonprofit, so that sounds great. But also love ordering materials to make face masks for local medical professionals.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right, and someone's volunteering with an NGO to teach marketing to small businesses right now. So absolutely great examples.
So cool, so cool. So yes, apologies for going a couple minutes over. This is the closer, and I just want to thank everyone for being online today. Amy, thank you for walking us through the inputs, and we will share those back with you. But number one, you are the author of your life story, and so really tap into the power of now. Power of now, whether it's in quarantine, power of now this summer, power of now when you're back on campus. And leverage every single experience. This might seem like a downer, but this is an enormous experience that we are all going through together. So leverage what is happening in front of us. And don't forget to always invest in yourself, whether it's graduate school, training, even buying a nice suit is an important way to invest in yourself. Don't underestimate what you're worth. Your voices, your ideas, your participation are so important. And a fifth one that I was going to add, just like you did today, please share your story. Please let Forte know what you are doing to leverage the power of now. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm happy to stay on if anyone wants to ask some questions.
And Mariska, this is Amy here, I could put myself back on camera, so I'm not just a voice anymore. But while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I want to share some of the other efforts that came in because they're just phenomenal and really speak to the passion and the energy and the brilliance of the women that are participating in this. But they're setting up LinkedIn mentoring groups for women. They're helping out a California group that's putting together a COVID-19, like an after COVID-19 resource guide for at-risk families. Just amazing, amazing, amazing things. I don't see many questions coming in. A lot of thank yous coming into you, Mariska. And so I think maybe that's probably a good place to end, is just a huge thank you to you. Thank you to everybody who has participated. And please join us next week. We're going to have a panel of career services professionals from our network of partner undergraduate institutions. So enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for your time. Mariska, well done.
Thank you, Amy. That was really fun. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Thanks, Amy.